Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to read through the full article here. There is a link in the description. I do need to give you a trigger warning. This does involve child sexual abuse by a cop whilst they are on duty. This scumbag that you see in front of you, a 23-year-old police officer from Florida, he's been fired, thank you, from his job for allegedly engaging in illicit sexual relations with a 13-year-old girl. Again, these multiple times that he did allegedly engage in illicit sexual relations with the 13-year-old girl, he was on duty. The scumbag's name, Sheridan Edward Archer, from the Palm Bay Police Department. Yes, that's right. He's a police officer. He's been taken into custody, so well done, the police department. He's been taken into custody as of Wednesday. He's been charged with 2 counts of lewd and lascivious. I can't pronounce that. Lascivious. Yeah, I could pronounce it earlier, but I've forgotten it. Lascivious battery of a victim under the age of 16, which naturally is a felony. The scumbag police officer is accused of having sexual relations with a 13-year-old female. He was employed, as we say, by the Palm Bay Police Department at the time of the crimes. An investigation began on Sunday, September the 18th, which involved the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. There were allegations made against the officer, and as such, an investigation ensued. It was discovered that the officer had contacted the teenager through a social media app, which is called Meet Me. So Meet Me is a social media app. It was previously known as My Yearbook, and it's been designed for making friends, playing games, and even falling in love, according to the website. Is that important? Should I be pointing out the social media app? Is it the social media app's fault that this occurred? Well, arguably, yes. I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar with Meet Me. I'm no expert on these things. But I would imagine that it's important to have a bit of an awareness on as a parent, for parents to have an awareness on the level of criminality, the level of abuse, which might be rife within a given social media community. So I would dare say that some social media communities are moderated more stringently than others. Arguably, none of them very well. So it could be that it's good for parents to have an awareness of this particular social media app. But of course, really, I would say any social media app, or most social media apps, the parents ought to be extremely careful. Any creep, I would imagine, can set up an account on these platforms. They generally don't ask for any ID, so you could have any weirdo set up an account, pose as a young person, as a teenager or what have you, and do whatever these insidious people do. Catfish, but I think that, catfish, groom, whatever it is they do. Okay, so the investigation found that the officer contacted the teenager through a social media app and then subsequently met the victim for sex on 2 separate occasions, each time whilst the officer was on duty. Again, the victim was 13 years of age. Apparently, the officer went to the girl's home on 2 separate occasions and allegedly committed lewd and lascivious battery. The victim was reportedly able to identify the officer by his tattoos. A probable cause for an arrest allowed for the department to take the officer into custody. He's been booked into the Brevard County Jail. He's been held on a $500,000 bond, and he's been terminated from the department effectively immediately. And the article notes that he has been with the Palm Bay Police Department for approximately 9 months, so relatively new to the force, if that's relevant. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. I generally support police officers currently. I do now currently, but I have gone through periods where I haven't so much. But it does make me wonder how many people join these organizations, these positions of authority, be that the police, be that the church or a church. You know, there's various different positions that people, develop their career in for various reasons, but partially for these nefarious reasons, so that they can have access to and influence over potential victims. And seemingly often that can be children victimized via sexual abuse. Another thing that this case reminds me of, maybe you don't see the parallel, but let's say 3 months ago, there was a case that I made a video on. It was absolutely shocking. Quite sure it happened in Brazil, where an anesthetist, if I pronounce that correctly, an anesthetist, was caught on camera by suspicious nurses forcing himself sexually on patients, plural. It happened multiple times, whilst surgery was being performed on them, whilst they were in surgery. Literally, there's like I can't remember the term, but like a shield, a cloth partition separating the surgeons from the top part of the patient's body, and the anaesthetist would stand on the other side of that partition, which is only like 1 foot high. It's not like a complete separation. And there's video footage of him forcing himself on at least one patient. Absolutely mind blowing. I don't know. I just see some kind of parallels that I've got to think that guy partly followed that career with some twisted fantasy in his head. And maybe this is the case with this guy as well. He embarked on this career to be a police officer in the hope that he would get to victimize some people in the fashion that he chooses, which seemingly is victimizing, sexually abusing children. Anyhow, I'm going to wrap things up at this point, guys. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. I have to mention full condolences to the victim and the victim's family. And, of course, we hope this scumbag gets everything that he deserves. I would imagine that the police department have only taken the action that they have once they feel that they have more than adequate evidence to be able to prosecute this scumbag. So I would hope and imagine, I feel very confident that this guy is going to get banged away for a long time. I really do hope that is the case, and I really do hope that his fellow inmates have the opportunity from time to time to have a nice little chat with him about how he used his position of authority as a police officer and his dealings with his abuse of a 13-year-old girl. I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. Please take care.